In this video we're going to look at solving quadratic equations using the formula, but we're going to look at a contextual problem. So that means it'll be some kind of worded problem where you've got to decode and work out what it wants you to do and then solve the problem using the quadratic formula. Something really common to look out for when you're looking for a quadratic equation problem is anything to do with area. So if you've got, for example here, a rectangle with side lengths given in terms of x, because when we multiply together length and width we end up with a quadratic, that's our clue that this might be a quadratic equation problem. So as I've just said, we know area is length times width, and in this case it's 2x plus 2 multiplied by x plus 3. You should recognise that that is a quadratic expression. Okay, so we've got two brackets multiplied together, and they've told us in the problem that the area of that rectangle is 60 centimetres squared. So we know that when we multiply length by width, so we multiply 2x plus 2 by x plus 3, we get the answer 60. Okay, so write down your quadratic equation to start with. Now when we use the formula, remember we have to have everything on one side of the equation. So we have to have something x squared plus something x plus something, or ax squared plus bx plus c equal to 0. Now at the moment we don't have that. We have a quadratic on one side and 60 on the other side. So the first thing we need to do is expand those brackets. So using whichever method you're comfortable with, grid method, FOIL, or just by looking at it, expand those quadratic brackets to give us 2x squared plus 6x plus 2x plus 6 equals 60. I then need to simplify before I go any further. So that gives me 2x squared plus 8x plus 6 equals 60. I'm then going to rearrange to the right hand side equals 0. So I'll need to subtract 60 from both sides of the equation. That leaves me with 2x squared plus 8x minus 54 equals 0. The minus 54 has come from subtracting 60 from 6. I've now got a quadratic with everything on one side and the other side equal to 0, so I can use my quadratic formula. Before I do that though, I'm going to halve the entire thing, so divide everything by 2. You don't have to do this, but it will make the numbers smaller and easier to deal with. So you can see there I've halved each number. So 2x squared has become just 1x squared, 8x has become 4x, and minus 54 has become minus 27. It won't factorise. You can try in the exam. A good tip is if it's on the calculator paper, they are probably expecting you to use the quadratic formula. So go to the front of the exam paper, jot down your quadratic formula in your exam book. I now need to work out what the values of a, b and c are. Remember, those are just the coefficients, so the numbers in front of x squared and x, and then that constant term which is the number that's on its own. So a is the coefficient of x squared, so that's just 1 here. B is the coefficient of x, so that's 4. And c is the constant, the number on its own, that's minus 27. All I do then is substitute those values of a, b and c into the formula. So wherever I've got a b, I put 4 in, wherever I've got a, I put 1 in, and wherever I've got c, I put minus 27 in. All you need to do then is type that very carefully into your calculator. Make sure you know how your calculator works and how you need to type it in to get the correct answer. This gives me x equals 3.57 and x equals minus 7.57. Remember, you get two solutions, one for putting the entire thing in with the plus in the middle, and one for putting the entire thing in with the minus in the middle. Because this is a contextual problem, you need to make sure your answer makes sense. So we've got two values there, 3.57 and minus 7.57. Now in this situation we're looking at lengths. X is a missing length. We can't have a negative length. So the minus 7.57 is not a solution to this problem. So to be fully correct, you should write down at the end that the solution here in this context, because we're considering lengths, is x is 3.57 rounded to 2 decimal places. There are lots of other contextual problems that can involve quadratic equations. A good tip, like I said before, is to look out for anything when you're multiplying two things together where you don't know the amounts involved.